Viewers, you know how the king moves. You also know how the rook moves. You also learned how the movement of the bishop. Having known these three, you also learned the movement of the queen. That it's a combination of like a rook and like a bishop. Now there are two important pieces in the chessboard. One is the knight, the other one is the pawn. Two little pieces, but very interesting pieces. Let's have a look at the pawn. You have 8 pawns on the second rank. This is the second rank for white and this is the second rank for black. You have 8 pawns there and each pawn can go generally one step at a time. Watch here, it goes one step at a time. Because one step and one step. Pawn is like a tortoise, but in the beginning of when the pawn is in the second rank, every pawn has got an opportunity to go 2 squares. Watch here, in the beginning, when it's in the second rank, it can either go 1 or 2 steps. Not always, only when it's in the starting position, it can go 1 step or 2 steps. After that, it will go 1 step only. Now, every pawn can do that. A pawn is very different. That if you have a opponent pawn in between here, the pawn can go 2 steps. Pawn does not cut like the other pieces. A pawn cannot cut this pawn which is standing in this way. You might ask me why, but that's how you play. You cannot cut the pawn that stands on your way. You can only cut the pawn that is adjacent to it. Watch here. The pawn cuts diagonally 1 step. The pawn will go here and cut this pawn and then start moving. That's so unique about a pawn. You cannot cut from here to this pawn. It has to cut only a pawn that is standing adjacent to this. A pawn cuts diagonally like a bishop, but only 1 step. It cuts diagonally 1 step, either this side or this side. Even if this side, you can cut the pawn. Now let's see more of how the pawn moves. Dear viewers, you are watching the movement of a pawn. The pawn can go 1 step, and it can also, because in the starting rank, it can also go 2 steps. Watch here. Let me also place a king to make it more understandable for you. If I make two steps here, say in case he placed the pawn here. Now this pawn can cut diagonally. It cannot cut this pawn, but it can cut this pawn. Now he plays here and white goes up. Watch here, if he cuts this pawn like this, he can also cut the pawn. If this pawn comes 2 squares like this, you cannot push this pawn. If you push this pawn will come and cut. So you can keep playing the pawns like this. But there's another interesting thing about a pawn. A pawn, even though it's just a small pawn, it's got a hope. The pawn will try to reach the 8th rank. A pawn, when it reaches the 8th rank, if it moves here, it can become a queen. A pawn, when it reaches to the 8th rank, it transforms itself, it changes itself, and you can promote it for a queen or for a rook or for a bishop or for a knight. You can either take a queen, you can take a rook, or you can take a knight, or you can take a bishop. Generally, this is called as pawn promotion. When you go to the last rank, when you reach any of the last rank, not necessarily this pawn reaching this last rank, any pawn reaching any of the last rank, you can take a queen, a rook, a bishop or a knight and place it there. Can you take 2 queens in a chess game? Yes, you can. You can even take 9 queens on the chessboard. Every pawn can become a queen. And the only piece that you cannot take is the only king. There can be only one king on a chessboard. You cannot promote another king. So a pawn moves 1 step at a time. In the beginning, it can go 2 steps. It cuts diagonally, and when it reaches the last rank, it will become a queen. The only thing a pawn can never do is it cannot come back. No pawn can come back. A pawn can, once it's moved, it cannot come back to its own position. So that's very, very important, that how you play, how you move your pawns. There's one more interesting thing about a pawn. It's called as en passant, which we shall talk